Welcome to PA Politics. I'm Nell McCormack-Abom, and with me in red for Valentine's Day week is Flora Pastorero, and we are feeling the love this week, talking about romance, about how to keep that flame burning between you and your significant other. And it's pretty interesting. I've been married for 26 years now, and you do have to work at love. Love
yes, you do.
It doesn't always just come naturally.
It's not easy, is it? So we are calling this episode, What is Love? And the reason why we're calling it What is Love, because love is a word. It's a word, and I think it means different things to different people. For me, love is all about respect. What does love mean to you?
Love is just that feeling of warmth, of belonging, of a connection. I mean, there's romantic love that, of course, I have for my
really
husband.
Deep here. Ooh.
But I think love for your children is a different kind. That's almost like
different.
A primal love. It's protective and nurturing and all of those things. But love is also selfless. To me, it is about giving of yourself to someone else to truly love.
Well, and I agree with all of that, and I feel all of that as well. But I feel like ultimately you have to respect each other too. And if you don't have that at its very basic level, you don't have all of the things that you had outlined. So, but again, we're going to explore what is love, because it certainly means different things to different people. Our guest today is Stephanie Fuentes. She is a psychotherapist and a licensed mental health counselor. Stephanie, hi, thanks for joining us.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you. So, Stephanie, what is love? Let's get to the very basics here. What is love?
Well, love can mean have very different meanings to the different people, situations. I think earlier you said that for you, love is connection, it's respect, and I definitely agree with that. I think that when you have a profound connection, a profound type of love, you bundle it all together and you make it what it is. It's for each person. It's different for everybody. It depends on your personality as well.
And there are basically 5 different love languages. Can you tell us what those love languages are?
Sure. So there's 5, as you said. There is words of affirmation, acts of service, receiving gifts, quality time, and physical touch.
Wow, and I have to become fluent in all of those, right? We have to speak the language of love. Like I said, this doesn't always come naturally to folks. So let's start with that first one, words of affirmation. What do you mean by that?
So basically, this is if your partner just wants you to say, let's say, for example, I love you. So these are verbal compliments. They don't have to be complicated. It can be short and simple. For example, you can say, that dress looks really good on you, or you always make me smile, or you always make me laugh, something like that, or even saying as simple as, your hair looks great today. So this would be considered words of affirmation.
All right. So the second love language that you talked about, acts of service, and this is a big one for me. So what do you mean by that, and give us an example?
Okay, so if you have the motto of, and we all heard this, actions speak louder than words, this is going to be your love language. So acts of service basically means cooking a meal, doing the laundry, picking up a prescription at the pharmacy. So this all definitely does require a lot of some thought, time, and effort.
And where do we find those men? Where do I find the dude who's going to do all that and speak lovingly to me about how thin I look in this outfit, how beautiful I am today? Where do we find those people?
It's definitely not easy. This is not something that just comes naturally, as you said earlier. It's just something that we have to think about. It's just thinking before we acting. It's just wanting to do. It should be something that just comes naturally, and definitely not forced. Because if it feels forced, your partner's going to know that this is coming as being forced, or maybe they feel that you're being obligated to do so.
I'll tell you, that is my motto. Actions speak louder than words. And more than anything, and I mean this with all sincerity, it means more to me if I come home and you've cut the grass instead of buying me a diamond ring. I don't care about that diamond ring. Cut the grass. It means more to me that you were thoughtful enough to pick up a gallon of milk than to buy me a Gucci purse. I don't care about that purse. It's the thought behind it. For me, it's that you've put my needs ahead of yours, that you've thought through, and you've thought, what can I do to make her life easier? That means so much to me. That's a big one for me.
Well, it's communicating
it is a big one,
too,
and exactly,
right?
that's correct.
You have to tell each other what you like as well. I mean, communication
You're
is so
supposed to
big.
know. You're
Well,
just supposed
they
to
don't.
know.
There's something missing there. Well, the third language was receiving gifts of love. Receiving gifts of love. Of course, Valentine's Day is coming up, and a lot of people think it's going to be a big ring, or it's a bracelet, or it's
Does it
new
have to
car,
be?
or
Does
something.
it?
What does that mean? Receiving gifts of love.
So some people definitely mistake this as being something that's materialistic, and it's not. It is just basically a meaningful or thoughtful gift that makes your loved one feel appreciated and loved.
I tell you what, I want to talk about something real quick about love for children too here, which touched me a lot. I went in elementary school, I went to lunch with my daughter, and one of her friends was sitting next to her, and he opened his lunch pail, and inside was a little note, and he took the time and he read it. I said, "What's that?" And he said, "My mother writes me a note every day." I said, "Every single day?" And it wasn't a long note. It was, "Enjoy the sun today," or something like that.
Wow.
And I was blown away. I thought, that is such a simple thing to do. But every day, if her son
So
had a
thoughtful.
terrible day at class, that is the one nugget of love. And that's all that child might need to make it through another week feeling really good about himself.
That's great. That's great. Definitely great. Especially for a child that young, a good way to build up self-esteem.
Yeah, it's not the big things, it's the little things, and those little things
Exactly.
mean a lot.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right, so the fourth love language, you had talked about quality time. So what does that mean, and give us an example of that?
So basically, quality time, this is the love language that's all about undivided attention. So like, this means no TV, no smartphones, no distractions. Here you're giving your partner quality time. So, for example, if you want to have a movie night, just the two of you, cell phones are off, distractions are off. It's just you and your partner watching the movie with no distractions. This is a great way of showing your partner that you are dedicated to their time.
I'm just curious. I'm curious in your practice, if you have to talk to couples about that, is that actually a division that they have in their relationship because one of them feels that the other one is spending too much time doing this, looking down at their device and not communicating, looking at them, paying attention?
Absolutely. I hear it all the time. I either hear the wife or the husband saying he's always on his phone or she's always on the phone. We don't have any quality time. It's a very common thing. And I want to go back to communication because communication is key in a relationship. You have to communicate your wants and needs. We can't just assume that we know what you want.
I mean, it's something we've paid attention to. When you go to a restaurant, sometimes you'll see a couple sitting there and they're both looking at their phones.
And they don't
My kids
even
have picked up on that.
Oh, yeah. They're sitting there in total silence. Our final love language that you talked about was physical touch. And I think we know what you mean by that, but why don't you go ahead and expand upon that and give us examples of physical touch?
Sure. So for physical touch, for one person, this means that there's nothing more impactful than a physical touch. So when I say physical touch, it's not necessarily going into being over the top with PDA. I know some people are not okay with that. However, this could mean just as simple as holding hands, a hug, a kiss, putting your arms around someone's waist or shoulder.
Relationships are hard work. And I heard someone say to me, "Oh, our relationship is great. It's easy." So I want to know, Stephanie, is a relationship supposed to be easy? Or is it really supposed to be hard work? Because I wonder when they said that to me, it's just so easy. And I thought to myself, is it too easy? Does that mean they're not really connecting here? Are they supposed to have arguments? Are they supposed to fight? Are they supposed to disagree? Is all of this stuff healthy? Is it supposed to be easy, or is it supposed to be hard work for a relationship to truly work?
I'm really glad you brought that up. And the reason why is because I was actually having this conversation with somebody the other day, and they told me it's supposed to be easy. It should not be work. I disagree. Why? Well, because in a relationship, it's constant work in the sense of there has to be communication. In order for there to be growth, there has to be constant communication. If we don't have fights, is it a red flag? Not necessarily, but when we, as normal as individuals, we have red flags, right? So if we say, well, he or she should know what I want, he or she should know what I need, that's not necessarily true. We can't make that assumption. In order for a relationship to grow, there has to be communication. So with communication comes growth.
I'm curious too, in your practice, what are the hallmarks of the relationships that are going to make it, that are going to last the better part of a lifetime? What are the hallmarks of the way they treat themselves, or what is it about love that flourishes in a good, healthy, strong marriage? What are you seeing?
If couples have a difficult time sometimes relating information, so if they don't hear something correctly, they might assume that this is what their partner said or meant. So I always tell them, if you're not sure what he or she said, ask them. It can be as simple as, did I hear you say you wanted me to pass the salt? In that sense, they say, yes, I heard that correctly. That is what I said. That is what I wanted. So again, like I said, I'm repeating myself, but communication is always key. Communication. I will never stop saying that.
You know, and the older I get, and I wish I knew this when I was 20-something, but ultimately, men and women, our brains are wired differently. Men truly are from Mars and women truly are from Venus. And men say something and women will interpret it a completely different way. And he's like, what are you talking about? I didn't mean that. And she gets all worked up and then we say something and they didn't get it. Our brains are wired differently. So the fact that you said that, to say it and to repeat it and to reinforce it, I think it causes a lot of problems because we just don't communicate the same. Now, I could say something to you and you would know exactly what I was meaning and saying by that, but you say it to a man and they're going to get a completely different understanding of what I just said.
Well, you know, Stephanie, my husband and I used to help couples who were preparing to get married, and one of the techniques they had was this little piece of magnet, and it was like a piece of carpet, and they said, you have the carpet as one of the spouses, and you speak and you say exactly how, when they do this, how it makes you feel, but then the other person has to repeat it back to you. So what you're saying is, when this happens, and that is like sometimes the only way to truly break down the conversation. And I said, my gosh, that just seems so cumbersome. But if you find yourself in a rut in your relationship, is that the basic elemental kind of level you need to get to so you're really understanding what that other person means? Because I'm the best mind reader there is. I can read my husband's mind like you wouldn't believe. And then I'll go, that is not at all what I was saying, you know?
It sounds a little ridiculous that you have to constantly repeat yourself, and I can definitely understand where couples become frustrated and just say, you know what, I'm constantly repeating myself. However, if you want to make sure that you get that communication across correctly and your partner knows exactly what he or she wants, this is the way to go.
I think so.
And eventually it becomes second nature.
I was going to say, even when it comes to sex, because a lot of people are embarrassed to talk about that. You know, the generation we grew up in, especially being from Irish Catholic home, Italian Catholic home, you didn't talk about that. Well, now women are learning you have to speak up for what you like and don't like.
So we focus so much on relationships and making relationship works, and now you're married. I'm divorced. I'm single. So let's talk about the other end of the spectrum. We do have a very high divorce rate. 50% of the marriages end in divorce. There's an even higher divorce rate for second and third marriages. This is something that I want to hit on too, Stephanie. Is it okay to be single? You know, back in the day, it was frowned upon to be single. People looked at you like, what's wrong with you? Why isn't she married yet? Why isn't he married yet? It was frowned upon, and it was thought, she's single because there must be something wrong with her. I think the whole, there's been a different mindset now. It's actually okay to be single. Perhaps that means that I'm okay and I am happy being by myself. And there's nothing wrong with that. Is there anything wrong with being single? Do you have to be in a relationship, Stephanie?
Absolutely not. There's absolutely nothing wrong with being single. I know that a lot of people may think, like you said, is something wrong with her, something wrong with him? Why have they been single for an X amount of years? But there's nothing wrong with that. It could be simply that you are just not ready to be in a relationship, or you just have not found the right person. You have the right to choose what kind of qualities that you want in your partner.
And maybe you don't want to be in a relationship. There are a whole bunch of different variables there, but it is okay to be single, and that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. And there's kind of a whole movement here, too, that I've been hearing more about. We have Valentine's Day coming up. Gals are getting together to have a Galentine's Day. Why not? Why does all of this, why do we have to have all of this focus on couples and this and relationships? You can be single, you can be happy, and you can just get together with your friends and show love to your friends that day too. Is there anything wrong with that?
Absolutely not. Valentine's Day does not necessarily mean that you have to share it with your partner. It could mean, like you said, sharing it with your loved ones, your friends. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, and I encourage it. I definitely encourage it.
All right.
I thank you very much, Stephanie Fuentes, and we appreciate your insights in helping to teach us the language of love. And I always think about that famous quote, "'Tis better to have loved and lost than not to have loved at all." And the one thing I feel blessed in my life is that I have experienced the love of friends, of family, a husband and children. But in your heart, your love for humanity is important too.
Indeed,
I really think that.
Indeed. And I have experienced all of that love as well. I think that the greatest love of all is that intense love that you have for your child. I don't think there's anything that quite compares to that. I remember many years ago, my girlfriend, she had a baby, and I said to her, "What's it like?" I didn't have a child yet. And I said, "What is that like?" And she said, "You think you know what love is. You know, you think you know what love is. You love your parents, you love your spouse." But she said, "Flora, until you have a child and you experience that intense level of love, there's just nothing that compares to it." And for me, that is just, he's my greatest love of all. Stephanie, thank you so much. And thank you for listening.
No, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. We want to hear from you here at PA Politics.
Absolutely. Please send us an email, papolitics@penwatch.org. We'd love to hear your suggestions, your show topics, and just what you're thinking about, because it helps us decide what we're going to focus on every week on PA Politics. I'm Nell McCormack-Abom.
I'm Flora Pastorero. Enjoy your Valentine's Day this week, and we will be back next week to chirp about another topic.
Love to all.